Hi Thomas, thank you so much for taking the time out for this. I really appreciate you. I remember, going through LinkedIn, and then I came across your profile, and then
Mhm.
just going across different social media channels and reading about the way you branded yourself out there.
Mhm.
And just like, I'm not going to give it away because I feel like you can introduce yourself way better than what I can. But that being said, I'm really
Yeah.
grateful to have you on here and excited for people to get to know you better and learn about your journey. So could you go about and introduce yourself and
Yeah.
who you are, what proud of you are?
Yeah. Thank you, Natalie, for having me on. I'm excited to sort of have a good conversation. Yeah. So yeah, I'm from originally from Scotland, if you can tell by the accent. Came to the US in 2020 to play college soccer, and fast forward 5 years now, I'm sort of doing a master's degree in New York. Still playing soccer, and then working sort of part time with a tech company in Manhattan, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's a brief introduction from what I've done. Yeah.
Love that. So I'm curious to know, how do you get into soccer and when do you realize that it was more than just a hobby?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, in Scotland, like it's either rugby or soccer. That's all anyone plays. I should say football, honestly, but I've been in America 5 years, so I've sort of rubbed off on me. But yeah, I mean, everyone either plays rugby or football growing up, and I think me, I went to like a lot of my friends just played football. Like football is more of like sort of a sport that is accessible to everyone, where rugby's a bit more of like a private school sport. So grew up playing both, but was definitely better at the latter. I was definitely better at football. And yeah, just went from sort of playing at like a local club, got selected through a few things, played for like my sort of region, my county in Scotland. And through that I got selected to go play with like an academy. So played there from the ages of like 10 to 18. And then when it got to the business end of it, where I had to sort of like figure out where do I do I go play professionally? Do I sort of not do that? Like it was a bit of a difficult one, and it was always my dream to go play professional football. But then when I got to that stage, I realized maybe it wasn't the right plan, and I was always good in school. So yeah, heard about doing like a soccer scholarship in America, and like getting to travel America, do a degree, but play soccer at a high level. Like I couldn't really complain. So yeah, that was sort of my journey from playing football back home to coming out to America.
Love that. So I'm curious to know, what inspired you to choose to come to America, and how do you go about dealing with that imposter syndrome that comes in, especially when you go all in into your dream, saying this as someone who's also an international student, like
Yeah,
has been and dealt with it.
yeah. I mean, I think yeah, when like at the time, I don't think I realized like, how big a decision it was. Like I think I was sort of a bit like, oh yeah, America, like let's give it a shot, see what happens. And I didn't really think. I just sort of did because it was all quite last minute. Like I didn't really plan to do it, and then I remember my friend sort of talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds good. Like, and there was a guy that actually helped me get out, and he was sort of through my club, and he did it, but it was all very last minute, and I was like, my mum didn't really want me to go. My dad was all like, oh yeah, go for it. But I think the biggest thing, as I mentioned before, was the fact that I could get a degree and obviously advance my education, which I always wanted to do, but then keep playing like the sport that I loved at a high level. And it still gave me the sort of belief that even if like, I can get this degree, but I can also go and play professionally after college if I still want to. So it sort of gave me the best of both worlds, say that. And then the imposter syndrome thing, I think coming out to America, for me, I came to Mississippi for 2 years at like a small school, played soccer there, and I didn't really feel like it was weird. It was America, it was really American, like very southern, like very sort of southern accents. I don't know if you've been in the South, but it's very different culturally to like the North. Um, but I think like because there was so many British guys on my team, it was almost like I was on holiday. Like I was just playing soccer with loads of British guys. Like I was always around British people, so I didn't really feel it properly American almost, if that makes sense. So yeah, I didn't really feel like an imposter there, but definitely as I've sort of grown into the American culture, I feel like I'm quite different to the average American, obviously. But yeah, I feel like something. I think honestly, I think you're always going to feel like an imposter at the start, but once you sort of build connections and stuff, it eases off.
I think,
Hmm.
I mean, I've not been to Mississippi yet, but
Hmm.
then I think I know what you're saying. Like, but then I can only imagine how hard it will be for you to, go in there and see this complete different reality. or what you
Yeah,
thought of America to be, but how do you,
yeah.
go about making that decision, being like, okay, you know what, it's time to move up and, transfer to a different school?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing was I like always wanted to play Division 1 like soccer, and I think coming out to America, maybe I should have played that like right away, but it just didn't work out that way due to scholarships and whatever. Which I've no regret going to Mississippi. It was amazing. So, played 2 years there, and I thought even though I had great friends there, like I was very comfortable there. I thought, Joe, I need to go push myself. I need to go play Division 1 soccer and go see a bit more of America because I'd like traveled a little bit while I was in Mississippi, and I knew there was a lot more out there to go like explore. So yeah, I mean, I just spoke to my coach and sort of did all the things that I needed to for transferring because there's quite a lot of rules that you have to follow. But yeah, like made a highlight video, tried to market myself, um, emailed like hundreds of coaches, and luckily someone gave me a good offer in Baltimore in Maryland, which was it was a cool place. Went up and visited and decided to go there for like the next 2 years of my undergraduate. So yeah, it was quite a quick process, but it was exciting, and I was excited to just go to another school, like see what it was like, meet new people. So yeah, that was that.
I'm grateful that it worked out for you
Hmm.
because I mean, I from the videos that I've seen of you, which I will ask you more about later, but then
Hmm.
from seeing the videos and just like the way you market yourself out there and just like your stats in general are super impressive. And the fact that you took a bet on yourself and people believed in you, your coaches especially, is a pretty big deal. And I definitely think that, you should, this is something which you can look back and say that, hey, you know what?
Hmm.
This is what once you make it pretty big as a
Yeah.
professional soccer player.
Nah, yeah, I think it's just it's one of those things. I think like I just always, I mean, I just took it sort of as like I want to go and play at like the best level I can. I want to go sort of get to the highest level possible, and that was just the way of doing it. I didn't really take it into account that like it'd be tough leaving people, and it was tough. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think I don't know. I don't think anything in like good, like worth having in life comes easy. So, you sometimes got to sort of do those things. And I've still got friends down there that I've seen here and there, and if like see them whenever I can. But it's just one of those things. But yeah, I think like you've always got, and it was a bit of a risk, but you've always got to sort of take those risks and see what happens. You're young, you might as well do it now than sort of wait around and regret stuff. So yeah.
I think that was a great decision, and I absolutely know what you're saying because I left my own comfort zone, left the people I love because
Uh-huh.
I was quote unquote selfish about what
Mhm.
I wanted to accomplish. But then I think you have to be selfish at some point because on the other side of fear, which is leaving a comfort zone, is something, a greater version of yourself
Yeah.
that you've yet to be seen.
Yeah. And I think for me and you both, I think one of the biggest things we sort of probably thought about was you're sort of leaving people you love back home, you're leaving family, like you're not going to be able to spend as much time with them. But I think one of those things is like you're sort of doing what you want to do, and in reality, your parents want what's best for you, and if what's best for you is in another country, I think there's no guilt in going and sort of following that while you're young. Like, fair enough, if it doesn't work out, you can always go home, but you might as well sort of go and just try something. Because I think that's what I always say to people. Like, I mean, there's no point in being stuck in your comfort zone in your hometown because even though it's like nice and comfortable, like nothing's gonna change. So unless you go out and see the world and like what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. You come back and everything's the same. You go back into your normal routine, but at least you tried. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's just true. And I think all international students are sort of they've always got that feeling of guilt where they're missing out on birthdays of their family members back home. But I think you've got to think like they want what's best for you. So yeah.
I think with that also comes that hustle and drive to be like, yes, the worst is that you go back home. And
Hmm.
also the idea of the worst coming to fruition is what scares you. To be
Hmm.
like, hey, that fire is up my ass right now. I
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
go and into the worst.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You come somewhere and you need to you're like, okay, but I need to succeed. Like I don't wanna go back to the old life of this is my new sort of gig going on. I want to yeah, it almost motivates you even more to be successful. Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, moving on from that, this we could speak on and on about that
Yeah.
because this is such a real thing. The anxiety, the loneliness, just like the fear of missing out and all these things in general. But then I'm curious to know more about, you said you studied finance,
Mhm.
So like what inspired you to study finance?
Yes, I think I was always, I mean, for me, I always had like an interest in business. Like I always wanted to sort of um had that interest, and then I liked my sort of maths, so it just made sense that sort of it was they sort of came together. Like I liked sort of doing all the Excel stuff, I liked doing the data stuff, and like I liked the sort of just I thought the stock market was pretty cool. Like it's just the way you can trade stuff, and I always thought that was good. So yeah, I did finance my undergrad, and then I did like it. I think for me, I sometimes wished I'd like push myself a little bit more because it was good. But I feel like in America, especially, I don't know, it was just the school I was at, but I didn't feel I was challenged as much as I should have been. So like sometimes I wish I did something a bit more, I don't know, engineering or something because that was like the same math sort of things. Like I like, but is what it is. And then came to Fordham to do my master's, so I'm doing business analytics now, which is good. So I think, yeah, I just wanted to sort of get like a really vast understanding of like data and financial markets and sort of gain like a fuller understanding of all that goes into it. And then if I can use that sort of everything I've learned in the future, that'd be amazing. Because I think, yeah, it's good to have like a an idea of what's going on financially anyway. So yeah, I think that's what really motivated me. But I think yeah, I think for most people that don't know what they want to do, I think America is great because you can come in and do like 1 or 2 years of like sort of the general classes, as you know, and then sort of specialize in something, which gives you a bit more time to figure things out. Because I think coming out of high school, some people definitely they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, that's great, but then other people still really don't know, and it's all sort of different timelines. So I think that's a really good thing about America is it gives you time to decide what you really are interested in and what you want to pursue.
I absolutely agree, and and I absolutely think that America is like the best place because the opportunity is super wide, but also at the
Mhm.
same time, like the guilt, like you said, of like wishing you did more with
Hmm.
what you did is always there. I feel that all the time, but I feel like you prioritize what you wanted to prioritize at that point,
Yeah,
and then you realize, hey, I could have done this better, but then there's always moving forward something that you can do differently. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's I don't think about that often actually, but I think that's true. Yeah, like you can regret it, but at the time, I never would have thought about doing, for example, engineering. I just mentioned like I was always, oh, finance is definitely the most interesting. So yeah, that's true. Like you can always regret, but there's not really much you can do about it. So yeah, that's a good point.
no, I say that because I was passionate about startups and
Mhm.
venture capital is something which I really feel a lot passionate about. And
Yeah,
I feel like, and I wish at that point when I was like, I did take classes later on that, but then I wish I took more classes on finance and macro and microeconomics. And you
yeah,
always feel those regrets, but then, it's like you do what you can and,
uh-huh.
there's always, and you're still alive. So, there's always a way you can
Yeah.
find a way to learn in
No, and
different
I
modules.
also think like through university, I think it's great. Obviously, you've got your classes, you're learning, but I think what I've realized is like there's so much available online. Like you can learn, and like there's so many university covers like a really good amount of things. But I think if you really want to specialize in something, I think it's your own study that's going to get you there. It's not like I think just doing a degree isn't necessarily going to make you an expert in that field. You need to really like deep dive into it and sort of do your own research, which is something that I've only sort of realized through university because it's sort of like I mean it gives you a good understanding, but I think to really like have knowledge in your field, I think doing your own research, watching videos, listening to podcasts is a great way to sort of build your understanding.
Absolutely. There is so much out there.
So much.
Uh it's an ocean. You could spend your all day and
Oh
still
yeah.
not get through it.
And yeah. I mean that's the thing. Like I like go through stages of being really interested in something, then sort of like cool off on it. And I think that's the thing. You need to pick something and just really focus on it and specialize in it. And then once you're an expert in that field, then you can sort of branch out and look at different things. But that's hard. Like who knows what you want to specialize in. So yeah,
It's
yeah,
not easy.
yeah.
It's
It's
not
not easy
easy.
stuff. Yeah.
But I mean, you said you were a student athlete. You are a student athlete. You're taking classes. You're working part time while building your social life.
Yeah.
and this all is not easy. How do how do you balance it all while maintaining your sanity, which absolutely is not the
Yeah.
easiest thing to
Yeah.
do,
I
and
mean,
navigating life in a new country.
I don't know, I think like for me, I think it just, I mean, I wasn't always the best at it. Like I definitely used to, my freshman year, I definitely used to like leave things last minute. Like I'd be doing essays an hour before they were due, like hardly typing. But as I got older, I became a bit more like aware of like the time I had, and definitely became better at like the two things I think I was became better at were like first being organized, like making sure everything was planned out, whereas like give myself a to-do list at the start of the day, do all those things just so you know what you need to do and you don't miss anything out. And then I think secondly, just when I've got time, I would do stuff like well in advance. So nowadays, like I'll have a lot of like if I've got homework due on a Sunday and I've got a bit of time on Tuesday for some reason to go do something, I'll try get as much of it done on Tuesday, whereas I used to sort of always put it off. But I think just having like getting it done when you can is such a big thing because um yeah, it's like it's a difficult one honestly, and sometimes I did feel a bit overwhelmed, but I think you can always, I mean, the good thing about being a student athlete, you can always sort of tell the teacher, oh, I mean, I've had a really busy schedule. I've got so much due. Can you sort of maybe let me submit this a day late? And normally, which is, I know normal students like think it's a bit unfair, but sometimes professors would be like, "Oh yeah, no problem. Like, I'll give you an extra day," which yeah, isn't always the fairest. But yeah, I think most of the time you could just, as you've always got time. I think it's just how you choose to spend that time, is what I'll say. Yeah, instead of watching Netflix, get your homework done, and then you can chill. It's like stuff like that. So yeah, I've definitely got better over the years. I'll say that.
I like how you say that there's enough time. It's just about how you decide on
Yeah.
how you decide on prioritizing what to do first.
Uh-huh.
And also it's surprising that teachers, professors actually give you extra time to submit your homework because that, I mean, growing up in India and like that has a British education system, it
Yeah.
was like nobody really allowed me to submit in late homework because then
Yeah.
that meant that you were, I felt that guilt all the time. But then in America, it's so different. People like prioritize like your learning versus, submitting things on time and
Yeah.
homework
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's
assignments.
uh-huh. Yeah. Like they'd rather you do it well and maybe give you an extra day than just like you have to submit it then and just submit anything possible that you've got the time. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's like a different, I think this is the different mindset of like what they sort of, yeah, what they want you to sort of learn. Yeah, it's cool.
But
Hmm.
and you also said that you're working right now, part time, right?
Yeah.
At I can't pronounce the name of the company, but
Crizit, yeah. Yeah. So
yes, yes. So
yeah.
that means like, do you have any cool takeaways or any learnings
I
or
think
any insights that you want to share?
Well, I think just working like in a professional environment where everyone like you're doing a real job, I think is very different from university. And university is great because you've got all these skills, but I think for me, especially what I've learned, I think yeah, it was good. Like I've learned all this stuff, but I didn't really know like how to apply it generally. Like I was a bit sort of lost of how's it all just like the way it works in a workplace. Like I didn't really know. So going into a workplace is really good because it just sort of um, means you can use your skills in a setting where it's real. It's like, I mean, you've got an impact. So yeah, that's been really cool. Um, just commuting into Manhattan and sort of working there, it's been a bit surreal for me. Like I'm like a guy from like a small town in Scotland, so going into work there is quite unique. But yeah, it's been really good. Like you learn a lot and being on the job, like you're sort of put into the deep end and almost sink or swim. Like they give you tasks and you just have to do your best to complete them. Otherwise, you go and ask, and they'll be happy to help. But I think it's really been cool, and I've learned a lot. Definitely, like learned a lot in a short space of time, which has been good. Yeah,
But I mean, I really think that you should give yourself more credit than what you say because doing all of this honestly is not easy at all.
yeah,
And, especially as somebody who's like been a student athlete and came and left home, probably, I'm assuming 17 or 18.
hmm
It's definitely not been easy. But then the fact that you navigated your whole life and just like managed to transfer schools and go in all in your vision, I think
yeah,
that is something which not everyone can do. But, I look at, I feel like now is a good time to get into, how you marketed yourself out there,
yeah,
and just like build your whole brand because I feel like, I think a lot of student athletes not really don't really find a way to have good branding strategies. And I feel like
Yeah.
your presence on TikTok, I did do some stalking because I had to come up with good questions and make myself aware.
That's
But
funny.
then, but then your awareness on TikTok, your presence on LinkedIn is super impressive. And
Hmm.
how do you go about, managing to do all of that? And also on YouTube, for that matter, the stats that you posted, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, great way to brand yourself. And a
Yeah.
lot of people do that. Don't
Yeah.
do that.
I think I don't know. I think like for me, I just like first and foremost, like not even using like social media. I think just in general, like I used to be quite like in high school especially. I used to be like a bit of a shyer kid. Like I wouldn't really like speak to people, and still to this day, like sometimes I'll have days where I've got no like social battery. Like I don't want to really speak to anyone. I just like keep myself to myself. So I always think like I don't really have like a much of a problem being like alone and like I'll happily do things by myself. Like that's never really been an issue. But like as time's passed, I've definitely become a lot more extroverted and like I've just realized that like it's maybe the biggest thing, and I think my dad's taught me this quite well because he's quite like outgoing. He's always speaking to people. I think the biggest, and he's in sales, so he has to be. But I think the biggest thing is like it pays to be. It really does pay to be confident and be able to speak to people. And if you've got good communication skills, I think that trumps everything else because um yeah, I think just like in person, if you can make connections like easily like that, it helps you out so much. And especially when you're in a city like New York, like the people that live here are like very successful. You never know who you're gonna meet. So I think first and foremost, like marketing myself just like socially, I think it's been a really big thing for me. Like just making the effort to speak to people and learn and get good at communicating and sort of in conversations with someone you've just met, being able to carry it and sort of shape it to where you want to go and learn about them, which has been good. And then my online presence, I don't know, I think I've got to give a little bit of what's the word? I need to give oh what I don't know what I'm trying to
Credit.
say. No, I need to
Credit.
like give yeah, credit, that's it. Give credit to one of my best mates from back home, Lucas Fenton. He's also out in America playing college soccer, but he one day he was t talking to me about it's like he listened to a podcast saying about it's so good to have a personal brand, like it's so valuable. And I think I took that on board and was like, it is true. Like when you look at people um, online that have a big personal brand and they've got a lot of followers, it makes like anything you want to do in life a whole lot easier because you've got this brand, you've got a following that sort of want to see what you're doing, want to follow your journey. So, for example, in my ambition is to have my own business and to be successful doing that. So, if you've got I don't know, 100,000 people that already see it. If you're marketing this business, it's it's like an easy way of like getting attention to it without even like having that requiring that much work. So I think that was one of the biggest things. I just want if you can like make something of yourself and be known and then launch something, I think it makes it so much easier. But then yeah, I just think on LinkedIn, it's like I I like connecting with people, like especially in New York. I've tried to connect with a good amount of Scottish people that work here, and I've met up with a few of them, which has been cool because a lot of them are much older and they can sort of mentor me and sort of what they think is the right way to go about things and stuff like that. So I think yeah, I mean, just a personal brand. Like I think even though sometimes I'm a bit embarrassed by it doing TikTok, like my mates back home, they're like, "Oh, Thomas, TikTok, like that, come on, that's embarrassing." But I'm like, no, honestly, like I think it's one of those things. It's a bit uncomfortable at times, but it's a good way to build a following. And if you like launch a business off the back of that, I think it's makes it much easier for it to be successful. So yeah, I think it's like one of those things. It's not the most um, it's a bit uncomfortable as I said, but it's worth it in the long run, I believe. So fingers crossed. I don't know.
I I see good things coming on from there. And I
Yeah,
personally, I mean, I know that, your mates being mates will definitely make fun of you because,
yeah,
you've known them since your childhood or whatever.
yeah,
But then I feel like the videos that you made on TikTok, like going through them post me last night, like
yeah,
I just went down the rabbit hole. I don't know how many videos were there, but I watched,
yeah,
it's so easy to get lost on TikTok. I don't use it that much, but then I was like,
yeah,
I need to look at this. But then I watched like 50 videos probably that you
That's
made.
impressive. That's
Y-
impressive.
yeah. And I feel like every video that you made and everything that you posted online had put in had some connection with who you are as a person and perfectly
Yeah,
showed your journey, especially when you spoke about, your journey as an international student athlete, advice for people who want to come in as a student athlete or just study in America in
yeah,
general. And I feel like that is something which not many people, like, yeah, sure, everybody does it, and you always have that imposter syndrome of like, why should I do this? Because everyone else is doing it, but then you have your own unique journey to share with everybody
yeah,
else, which not everyone else has gone through your journey, which is what makes you who you are. So what makes you Thomas Gray,
yeah,
and differentiates you from the other people out there. But I feel like, whatever you did out there is really amazing. And I personally, being a shy kid, and my dad is also in sales, so he's like, you've got to go out there and network people. He's more of a social butterfly at some
yeah,
point. But I think what you're doing is definitely great, and it's definitely tied down to where you want to see yourself, which I will ask you later. But
yeah. Yeah, no, but like to touch on that, I think um like I would love to like I mean have you probably experienced this as well, but like coming out to America like has like changed my life for the better. Like just the amount of people you meet, like it's insane. Like you've been able to get an education, you've done all this stuff, and like if there's people that like wanted help, um to like do the same thing, I'd be happy to help because I feel like the power of it is so like coming out and sort of being somewhere where it's a bit foreign and everything's a bit strange is so positive for you, like self-development wise. So I think like first and foremost, I'd like to help people do the same thing, but then also, yeah, just sort of making sure people are making the right decisions. And like I've seen a lot, like especially with being a student athlete and in college soccer, like I've seen a lot of things that have gone wrong with people and they've sort of maybe made mistakes. So if people need advice and aren't sure what how to handle a situation, I think like I'd love to be that person that could help people. So yeah, yeah, it's one of those. It's like it could personally benefit me, but also I'd like to have it benefit other people as well, which is it's quite a nice thing to have. So yeah.
I think you can just tell from people like right now, like that I'm talking to you, I can tell you're
Yeah.
genuinely interested in helping. Like you
Hmm.
can you can you can tell when someone's genuine or not, especially when you move countries and you
Hmm.
like live so far away from home. You've known who people are and who they are
Hmm.
in. So just being a good human in general is,
Yeah.
the most important thing. And your networking advice about connecting with Scottish people is
Yeah.
like it, it's amazing. I mean, I was like, okay, this is something which people told me a long time, but I did not really follow it as much as I should have.
Yeah. 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 It's I mean I like I don't know how I never got told. I just thought about it. I was like, oh, that's quite a good idea. And then I spoke to like other people about it and they were like, oh, that is a good idea. So I was like, oh, I might as well make a video on it. It went like got a decent amount of views. So yeah, it went well. And the cool thing about that was I got loads of messages from people, loads of people connected with me on LinkedIn and just asked about like advice and stuff. And I mean, I've only like I'm working in New York, but it's not like I've not done it all. Like I'm only 23, so I'm not that old. But it was cool to sort of like give people a bit of a helping hand and see like just sort of I don't know if I could help them a little bit, that's great. So yeah.
No, but then that's amazing. And
Mhm.
but then now that we spoke about things going your way, but what when things don't go your way? And
Uh-huh.
the going gets tough. How do you hold on to that hope and keep going?
Yeah, I mean I think that and like it has happened to me like my freshman and my sophomore year. I got injured both seasons, which obviously wasn't ideal. And at those times I won't lie, like I was pretty down in the dumps. Like I remember crying on the phone to my mum, being like, "Oh, mum, I don't know if I want to be here. I might, like, I want to go, like, might want to go home." But I think I don't know. It's just the way it is. Like I think that's life. Like you obviously go through a bit of stages where you're not as happy, and then you sort of know good things will come out the other side. So I think, um, yeah, I just think like it's one of those things like you're not always going to be like happy. It's not like that. It's going to be like that. So I think you just need to always be thinking like when something is bad, it's not going to be bad for ages. And if you keep working hard, if you don't let things like sort of go to waste, I think yeah, it'll be hard for a while, but then it will might get even better after. So you've just always got to have that sort of like mindset, I think. But that's the way I think, and I think my mom and dad have always told me that like mean, it's not as long as you work hard and like you apply yourself to everything that you're doing. I think good things will come of it. And even if it's like it goes through dips, it will always come up and be positive. So yeah, I think that's how the way I would look at it. And it's not always easy. 100%, it's tough. Like in the moment, everything feels terrible, but when you sit back and think, then I think you can sort of have that mindset, which will help a lot.
I'm so glad that you got out of it and that, you were vulnerable enough to share about your journey because like still to this day, there are days when I feel like, what the hell did I do? What was
Mhm.
the point
Yeah.
of this all? And, it's absolutely not easy. But then
Mhm.
I feel like these moments shape you and only probably make your TED Talk longer.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like it's one of those like you feel like oh, what have I done? Like should I be back home? Should I do this? And the next day you'll be on top of the world. You feel amazing. So it's like no, it's one of those. It's like it goes up and down, and that's just the way it is. I think as long as you can realize when you're sort of going into that dip, and you know that you're sort of feeling negative because it just that's just the way life is. I think that's the biggest thing. Like if you can personally like look into yourself and analyze why this is happening. I think that's important because if you let it consume you and you sort of go, oh no, I need to go home, then that's the thing that will hurt you in the long run. So yeah, I think just being able to almost like perform a bit of self-analysis and realize why you're feeling that way is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, definitely, to be
Hmm.
like, especially in that instant, it hurts like hell. But then,
Hmm.
in the long run, it's definitely gonna pay off somehow or the
Yeah.
other. So, it's like I definitely feel like, like and also the reason why I brought this up was because you mentioned that your 5 seasons of college soccer you posted on LinkedIn saying that it was I think sometime in November, right? You posted that your 5 seasons of college journey was over, and and it's definitely not something which I'm sure was something that you hoped for. But
Yeah.
then, how do you go about that, and how do you transition from that state?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think like I mean it's hard because college soccer like it flies by so quickly. Everyone tells you the 5 seasons goes like that, and it really does. Like it feels like yesterday I was a sort of freshman coming in. But I don't know. It's one of those that like I think at the time it felt awful. Like I had a little cry after my last game. I was like, oh, it's just a bit surreal that it's all done. But I think now but you look back at it, you're sort of happy for it. But I think for me, I didn't want like that to be like the peak of like, oh yeah, that was amazing. Like I'll never feel like that again. It was so fun. Like I kind of want to continue an upward trajectory. So using the time that I had playing soccer, spending all the time training, I think now I want to put that time into different things and sort of like my life for like as long as I can remember has been football, soccer, whatever. So now I want to, do you know what I mean, use that time that I had playing that sport so much and use like the lessons I learned playing it to good effect and put the time into something else. I think it's one of those that I think a lot of people struggle with finishing college sports because it's such a big part of their life. But and I definitely have 100%. Like I miss it a lot, but I think it's one of those where you can sort of either sort of regret and sort of look back and reminisce like what was so good, or you can sort of take a step forward and go and just put the energy into something else, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm still not perfect, obviously, but I'm trying to make strides to go be successful in other areas of my life. So that's where I'm at currently. So yeah.
Do you ever feel like that your vision of how your life in America would be is now different than how you envisioned for it to be? Because this is for me,
Yeah.
and I personally feel like, when is that going to happen? Why am I not there yet? But, I'm sure you came and you're, okay, I'm guessing this, but it doesn't have to be true. But I'm guessing from, I had my different reasons for coming in here, but I'm guessing you came in here to hope and be a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
Was
I
that,
mean
was that
that's
the goal?
I don't know. I'm trying to think back of what I did expect. I don't know if I honestly, this is a weird one, but I don't think I really had like a vision, which is maybe a bad thing, but I just
It's
remember
not bad. It's not
uh,
bad. It's always
I just
good to
remember
transition.
I remember thinking to myself, like, these next 4 years I'm gonna learn a lot, and I think learn a lot about myself because I didn't really like at that time I played football. That was always like that was my sort of thing. Like I was always known to everyone as being a good footballer, and that was about it. Like I was good in school, but like that was it. That was about it. So I never really like knew, didn't really have like a vision, didn't really have like anything. I mean, obviously I was very like motivated to be successful, but I didn't really have like a long-term vision. But I think being in America now, I sort of made me realize where I want to be in the future, and it like it's made things a lot clearer, which is good because it's given me so many experiences, and I've met people that have sort of shaped the way I look at the world, and I've been like, right, okay, yeah, like from within me, like I know I want to do this, and I actually don't want to do this, which initially maybe I thought I would have wanted to do. So I think, yeah, I don't know if I now I've got a clearer vision of what I want to do, but yeah, coming to America, I didn't really. I just remember thinking I want to sort of figure out what I want to do in life and then keep football as good as I can and then keep school and like stuff as good as I can and just try balance both as best as possible. And then when I have to choose between either going professional or getting a job or building a business, like I'll just have to decide and that's just the way it is. So yeah, I think that's sort of that was my thing coming in and then now obviously I know what I want to do. So it's a lot easier and it's worked. I've found what I want to do in life, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned about it because you said that not having a vision for what you want your life to look at is bad. It's not really bad. Like the fact that you had that mindset of being like, hey, I'm going to learn your during whatever time I'm here, and that is
Yeah.
about it, and then see from there, and then just put in my best. Because a lot of times, like personally for me, I did have a vision of where I wanted my life to be, and the fact that I'm not there yet stresses me out every single day. But
Yeah.
like I feel like just being in the now and being in the present and doing your best and leaving the rest for whatever happens because whatever efforts you're putting in will eventually lead to something, which
Yeah, 100%. They'll definitely pay dividends in the future, I think. And um yeah, I think like you just I mean I think it's good though. Like, I think it's good you've got an end goal because you sort of you know what you need to do. But then I think like sometimes for me I need to and I think this is different for everyone, but sometimes I need to if I've got an end goal, I want to break it up into small little tasks. So I definitely know what I have to do every day to sort of reach that bigger goal. So yeah, no, it's interesting though some, something that I've definitely like got better at, I think, because I used to have this like big end goal. Well, not a big end goal, but like something a lot like I wanted to do. But I would never sort of deeply think about what are the steps that are required to get to that goal. I think I would just have it as like a big thing. And I think that used to make me sometimes I would wake up and I wanted to be productive. I wanted to do something. I wanted to like work on something, but I didn't know like what I actually had to be doing. So I think it's important to sort of sit down and just take some time. I mean, I love like I've got this little book that my mom and dad gave me, but it's like a little nice notepad where I'll just write things down that I need to do or just things that I'm learning, and I think it's good because it's nice to look back on firstly, but then also it gives you sort of mental clarity and you're like, okay, so I need to do this, then that, then that, then that, and then all these steps will culminate into this big goal. So I think, yeah, I mean that's what I like to do, but I guess it's different for everyone, but that's that's one of those ways that I like to sort of approach a big goal.
I think that's a great approach because I remember being like these big goals. Okay, how am I going to get there? And it
Mhm.
just being like, oh, I need to be productive. I need to be doing this. So like, I
Yeah,
would cut down on time I spend with my friends. I cut down on time I spend with my family. But then it's like, how really am I getting there, right? And I
yeah,
like the approach that you took, and especially I'm glad that your dad gave you that book so that you can exactly write things down, break it down into
yeah.
small manageable steps.
I think as you said, like when you sort of take that approach and you know what you need to do, I think it gives you more time to spend with family and friends almost because you know that okay, I've done this, right, that's that done. And then I can go spend time with friends, go spend time with family, and you don't feel guilty about sort of missing missing time where you could be working because you know you've achieved what you wanted to achieve for the day and you can sort of relax, which is important. You want to have time where you can just switch off and not be up constantly thinking about what you need to do. So yeah, definitely a good point.
I definitely, I mean, I'm curious to know like what skills from soccer do you think? Do you think that a lot of these skills that the way you think about your life and look at your problems have transferred from soccer and just being an athlete in general?
Yeah, I would get. I think like a lot of it being like you're playing with people that you you like don't necessarily know that well. You sort of you might not like everyone on the team. Like if there's like 30 guys on a team, you're not gonna be friends with everyone, you know what I mean? So I think one of those important things is just learning how to like work in a team, like work well with people that you might not necessarily get on with, but you just have to sort of do it for like the end goal, like the thing that you're focused on. And then um yeah, I think loads of things. I think like obviously you have to sort of put the work in to see success in soccer, and that's like the same as you do in like the wider world. So I think yeah, I think it sort of translates quite well, yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to know. I mean, something which a lot of people don't speak about, but is a big struggle for international student athletes. What
hmm
would you say that is?
I don't know. I think sometimes I think just putting yourself out there and like especially for people that don't speak English as their first language, I think I feel sorry for people in that situation that didn't speak it as well as people that were sort of native because it's really difficult sort of putting yourself out there. And I think a lot of people that I know that didn't speak English as their first language say that it's really hard for them to be themselves because in their own language they can think of things very well and they've almost got a different personality in their own language, but when they're in English, they're very different because it takes them longer to think of things, or where they might be funny in their own language in English, they don't, they're just slower at thinking of things. So it's a bit difficult. So I think yeah, that's a problem. And then just like obviously culturally being quite different, I think it's hard to sort of adapt into a new culture, but I think that's important. You need to sort of embrace it and not push it away. Like if you plan on being in America like long term, I think even though it's tough at the start, sort of doing things that you may not normally do, I think in the long run it's definitely worth sort of embracing it and sort of coming to terms with like the way they do things in America compared to how they do back home.
I think that's a good point. And, I mean, I like English was the first language I learned, so I didn't really have a lot of struggles with that. But then personally, just like words people in America spoke, like, for example, like I used to call it as tomato sauce, like
Yeah,
common
yeah,
and people here call it ketchup, just like those small words. And then people don't
mhm,
understand what you're saying. They're like,
yeah,
what do you say? And then it can be hard and it can be daunting. It can make you feel like, okay, am I saying the right thing?
yeah.
Just question yourself, get in your head.
Yeah, like you definitely feel a bit of an outsider, but I think it takes time. Like when you've been here long enough, I think you sort of get used to those things. And at first, it seemed like an obstacle, but now it's like something that's like just part and parcel of your life. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it sort of comes, but then you get over it, and it's fine.
Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like, and especially like calling football as soccer.
Yeah, yeah. It's things like that, and then especially like. I mean, for us, like we've got accents, like we don't sound like the typical Americans. So I think that can obviously be a problem. Sometimes people don't understand you, and it's not nice when you're trying to communicate and people
Mm.
are like, what are you saying? But I think it's good, and I think I realized like having a really strong Scottish accent's nice, but um, for like success in the business world or whatever, you need to be a good communicator, and that comes with sort of having an accent that's easy to understand and universally understandable. So I think I definitely realized I needed to sort of speak more clear, speak slower, and just communicate better. So I think, yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like it sort of teaches you, um, like the way you do it might not always be the best. So you need to sort of have an open mind to things. Yeah,
I think that's an interesting point that you bring up
Mhm.
because not many people speak about the accent part of it because
Yeah,
it definitely makes you question when you say things. It's like, you've always been used to saying this. It's like,
hmm
again, like it's weird because some people say that, oh, you don't need to lose your accent, right? I mean,
yeah,
what you have is perfect, that makes you who you are. But then
hmm
also a part of them is like, okay, like some people say that if you have an American accent, it just makes it easier to blend in. But I also feel like, it's like it's hard and you get in your head. But I also feel like having an accent in general shows that you've lived in different countries and you have a
yeah,
different, unique
yeah,
background. And although you can get in your head sometimes, I feel like just having that awareness of being like, okay, this is what makes me different. And instead of using it as something that holds me back, you can use it as something that can leverage me,
yeah,
saying that I know more about the world outside of America. And being here obviously means that I've known enough, and
hmm
obviously I won't know more, but then I've known enough to the point that I can live here because every day you learn more than what you thought you would
yeah.
because
No, I
you're
agree.
forced to.
I think it's important to like have that uniqueness about you. Like you definitely want a twang of that accent, and people sort of you want people to know that you're not from America and you're from somewhere else because you've sort of got that you've traveled, you've lived in different places. Yeah, I think it's like a balance. I mean, you want to be easy to understand and like not cause trouble for everyone, anyone like being like, what are you saying? But then you also want to have that uniqueness and have that twang of an accent that sets you apart from other people. So yeah, definitely agree.
I try to change my accent, and I definitely was like, I cannot have this accent because people are gonna have a hard time understanding. But then
Uh,
I go and speak to my parents, and they're like, "Stop speaking fast, just speak slow. We don't understand what you're saying."
yeah,
And then it's an interesting dynamic. Like you want to be here, but also it's like losing that disconnect with your own family. It's
yeah.
like
I mean,
it's such a hard thing. Wait,
yeah,
sorry, I
yeah.
cut you off.
I think honestly, for me, like I sort of like have a more neutral accent when obviously I've got it's easy to sound that like obviously I'm Scottish, but like I've become more neutral when I come to America, and then when I go home, I sort of switch it back on and I speak like I used to back in the day. So I think there is kind of a switch, and it just depends who you're around. Like if you're around loads of Americans, they're gonna rub off on you a bit, and you're gonna start sounding more American. If you when you go home, I think it's always easy to like sort of revert back to how you used to be. Yeah, so but yeah, just on the phone, like I've said tomatoes to my parents and they've been like, Thomas, tomatoes, really? Or I said elevator the other day and they were like, Thomas, elevator, it's clearly a lift, like things like that. Like it's just I don't know, I just don't realize I'm saying it, but because it's surrounded by Americans, it just feels normal. So yeah.
Yeah, this just happened. Like I was telling my brother I was speaking to you, and he was like, "What do you say? Soccer? Like say it
Mhm.
again. It's football. It's not supposed to be soccer.
Yeah.
I don't ever say that again." And he's so he's offended. But yeah, I mean these things like these like probably just holding him back. But
Hmm.
it's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing to have an accent in America, I think. Definitely a positive.
But that being said, I was wondering. I mean, if today were the last day of your earth, what would you want your legacy to look like? How would you want to be remembered as?
Oh, that's a good
It's
question. Oh, that's a deep one. I don't know.
I
I
knew
was
you'd like it.
yeah. I don't know. I just think I'd like first and foremost. I think I'd like to just be known as someone that always worked hard, was always like open to speaking to people. Yeah, it's like that's a tough one. No, I think yeah, just I would like to be known as someone that was always quite focused. Like I think I pride myself at being like focused, work hard, always try and be productive. So I think yeah, I'd like pride myself at being sort of focused on what I want to achieve and not let like be led astray by it. But I think also yeah, just no, I think the biggest thing would just be having balance, like having I would like to be not nothing like for me now, I've not like built anything, I've not have got an amazing big company yet or something like that. So nothing like that. But I think if I was to leave the world tonight, I think it would just be, yeah, just be known for having a good balance, like good at spending time with friends, family, socially, having a good social life, but then also knowing when to switch that off and go and work hard in the gym or work hard with like schoolwork or whatever like that. So I think, yeah, just being able to balance everything effectively and not sort of leave one part of my life to waste, I think would be something that I'd want to be known for.
I mean, having read about you and having spoken to you right now, I can attest to that. And I hope you live as long as until 120. But then that being said, it's like we always take our own life for granted and think that next day is promised when really it's not promised to everybody,
Yeah.
right? So just having that sort of awareness is like so important. And
Mhm.
I personally forget about it all the time, and then I
Yeah.
think about it. And it's like, okay, you know what? And I feel like that is such a great way to be remembered because like you've done the best you can, and
Mhm.
every day is a different day. And not, like you said, you've not built cool companies and everything. That's what I say to myself. Like who am I? Like my I will be forgotten in like 2 days if
Yeah.
I die because it's like what have I done? But then that being said, it's like just like the person you are in general and like what you bring to the world. You never know the impact you create in the world. You walk,
Yeah.
you hold the door for someone, that makes their person there.
Mhm.
That makes, and they might pass on that act of kindness to 10 other people, which might impact the 100 other people. You just don't see the impact that you create,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
especially especially when you wish that your impact was like big enough for the whole world to notice. And I personally struggle with that because, having that big vision board where it Forbes 30 out of 30, being on the cover of, Vogue, giving a TED talk, whatever. It's like, big, big visions, big dreams. But then you
Hmm.
feel like every day you show up as the best version of yourself. Like doing this made my day. And,
Hmm.
it's like, it's these small things like these that you never know how you're impacting somebody's life and
Yeah.
making them want to be a good person because you
Uh-huh.
were kind to them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think you sort of carry yourself in a certain way, but you don't realize how you can maybe impact people, but you just never know. And I think like you can definitely with your podcast, with what you're doing, I think there's definitely people that listen and are interested in what you're doing, but they may never tell you. And I think that's the thing that you sort of, even if you might think you're falling under
Thank
on
you for saying
like
that.
you might think you're not reaching anyone. I think there definitely is people listening, and I think you can carry that in anything in life. Like I think if you're motivated, if you're being almost like a good role model to people, I think people will look up to you, um, no matter what. And I think people are obviously sometimes a bit embarrassed, like, oh no, yeah, looking up to someone that's embarrassing. But that's the thing, you'll never know if you are. But I think that's the important thing about sort of carrying yourself the best you can in all aspects, and just yeah, as you said, people probably take things from that you don't even realize. So yeah, definitely a big thing.
Thank you for saying that. Really means a lot to me because every day I wake up and I'm like, who the hell am I? Like
Yeah.
you just get in your head and you think that you're not really done enough. What are you
Uh,
doing? I just think when I do something like this, it's like, yeah, everybody else is doing it, right? What makes me different? Why? What even makes me? You saying yes to being on this, and I was like, in my head, I was already like, you would either not respond to this. Or maybe say that you have a lot going on, so you want me on
yeah.
this, but then the fact that you said yes actually made my day.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I think like, yeah, I think as you said, there's a lot of people doing it, and like there's a lot of people podcasting. But I think you need to start somewhere. Like it's like I always read that. Like I always see the motivational stuff about like the biggest thing you can do. So the worst thing you can do is put things off. Like you need to start somewhere, and you don't know where things can go. Like you start a business, and you plan on it going this direction, and it takes a complete U-turn, and you end up doing this. Like that's the thing. You just never know what's going to happen. I think that's the exciting part, though, and I think that's like for me, that's why I kind of like TikTok because you it's exciting. Like it brings some excitement to my life that I could make a video and it could go completely viral, and like it could like do you know what I mean, flip my world upside down in a matter of seconds. So it's like it's one of those. It's like doing things like this podcast, and like you never know what's going to happen. And I think as long as you, I mean, it's podcasting's like TikTok. If you stay consistent and you you work at it for long enough, things are going to happen. Like results are going to come. Like I think I was listening to Modern Wisdom, like by Chris Williamson. I don't know if you've heard about the podcast. It's really popular, but I can't remember what the stat was, but he was bringing some stat up about the amount of people that start a podcast and don't even reach 10 episodes is massive. So like even getting to 10 episodes of a podcast is a massive achievement. And then just hitting that milestone 20, 30, 40, 50, like you're sort of separating yourself from the pack so much. So I think like that's the biggest thing. Like if you can keep going and like something's gonna come of it eventually. So yeah,
I
and
really
obviously
appreciate
you
you.
need to be smart with it. Like it's not like if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working, like obviously maybe try switch things up. But I think like the biggest thing's making a start, isn't it? So from then on, you can just sort of use your intelligence to go where you see fit, and then don't know, in the end, be successful. That's the plan.
I think that's great advice. I've definitely heard of Chris Williams, and
Mhm.
don't really think I've heard that specific thing that you mentioned. But then I was listening to Modern Stoicism, and just like hearing a few other things about, how to deal with things when they don't go your way. And just
Mhm.
like, instead of expecting things to happen a certain way, just show up and just do the work. And,
Yeah.
just kind of realizing how, just like your own thoughts, you manifest your own fears, and then manifestation, even though it sounds cliche, is so true because your thoughts reflect the efforts you put in, and that ultimately reflects the results you get. And so
Mhm.
if you believe in who you are and just change your own perception of yourself, I feel like results will come through. It's just about realizing that you are enough and capable enough of accomplishing big dreams just as everybody else is, because
Yeah.
why not?
100%. I think like you see these people that are ultra successful. I think they're no different to us. I mean, they might be really smart. They might have something a little bit different, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like starting and like being consistent and turning up and doing your best every day and just like I mean, that's not a guarantee that you're going to be successful for that, but I think if you it gives you a big chance, gives you a big chance.
I like that, and I also like how you're excited about TikTok because
Yeah,
who knows,
exactly.
tomorrow you might go viral on that platform.
Mhm.
You never know when
Mhm.
things could happen.
Exactly, exactly.
But I was wondering, what advice do you have for people who feel lost and don't know what next to do in life?
Oh, yeah, that is a good one. I mean, I think I'm almost right now. I think I'm kind of in that space where I know like what I want to do, but it's like you've always got the sort of weight of your parents and like what they want you to do, and you've got the weight of different things, and I think that's the thing. It's being lost. I don't know. I think the biggest thing I would do, and what would work for me, would be so like you're lost. Like, what are your options? Like, what can you do to sort of stop yourself feeling lost, and then get it all written, write it down, speak to people about it, like people that are close to you. What's their opinion on it? But I think at the end of the day, you need to like you're gonna feel lost a little bit, but you need to sort of make decisions quickly. Like you can't, time's precious. You know what I mean, like you can't spend all this time like thinking, oh, I don't know what to do. You need to sort of take action quick. And if it doesn't work, like if I mean, I don't know, like someone wants to start a business but they don't know which direction to go in, just start it. And then if it doesn't work, you can always go another way. Like it's not the end of the world. So yeah, it is. And I think, but it's not always going to be like that. Like there's obviously decisions um that are like, I don't know, do I live here? Do I live here? Do I take a job in this city or this city? Like, who knows? But I think you need to just sort of really figure out what's the best for me and then go at it and just put all your eggs in that basket. And if it doesn't work, like, no, I mean, like, just don't regret what you may have missed. Because I think that was for me when I transferred from like, so I played 2 years in Maryland and then I had like, I was speaking to coaches to go do my masters somewhere, and I spoke to like a load of different schools, some West Coast, some East Coast, and I think the biggest thing for me is what my mum told me, which actually stuck with me, was like when making a big decision, it's great to think what you would like more, but it doesn't really like clear your mind up because I was considering between a couple of different schools, but then my mum was like, okay, but what would you regret more? Like, which place would you regret not going to the most? And then I think I was like, oh, okay, now my choice was really made up. Like, I was thinking about going to UCSD, going there to do my master's, and they've got like a nice school, good soccer program. And then I was thinking, but I've got Fordham, New York, like great networking opportunities. You're in like one of the greatest cities in the world, in my opinion. And I was like, okay, I'd love to go to them both, but then reverse it, what would I regret more? And I was like, oh, by miles, I would regret not going to New York. So then I was like, but there it is, there's my mind made up. So I think, yeah, I think going off like being lost, I think you need to figure out what you want to do, give yourself options, and then make the best option possible.
I think that's a great advice, honestly. I mean, first your mom for helping you figure that out
Yeah.
because I feel like, yeah, I mean, yeah, especially our elders and parents, even though it can be so hard sometimes to differentiate their voice from your voice,
Hmm.
because it's like, believe it or not, but like the people you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
and like especially, how you grew up and where you grew up definitely impacts, who you are as a person
100%.
and
Yeah.
how you think and just like who you are and what you do and the way you think and I feel like the way you said, just like going after it and just, giving, because I feel like sometimes you can just be so stuck in like choosing different options that you just
Mhm.
don't know. But it's so true. It's like, what would you regret not doing the most? I feel like that is a great way to go about it, and just doing the thing. I feel like that is
Yeah.
what needs to be done, because how else are
Yeah.
you gonna know?
100%. Like, yeah, that's a difficult one. Like, universities is a tricky one because once you sort of go there, you can't really change. But I think, yeah, you need to just go into it and then not regret what the other ones like, not feel regret of like, oh, I could have gone there, I could have gone there. Just like go on into it and enjoy, and whatever happens, happens.
I feel like, you can fuck up, you can go wrong, but then it's not the end of the world. Like
Hmm.
there's always a way you can retract and change directions. It's just about being smart enough about it and just doing the damn work, because if not, then there's no way you're gonna even move one step forward if you get stay stuck in
Exactly,
your head.
exactly. Yeah, you don't want to have like decision paralysis and just be like stuck or sort of regret the whole life. You need to just get on with things, don't you?
Yeah, no wonder Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs wore the same damn clothes
Yeah.
same damn shirt every day.
Exactly, exactly.
But like, okay, so I know you said that it's too early for you, but I was wondering what next do you see yourself doing? Okay, or let me reframe this, okay? What's next with Thomas Gray? And if in an ideal world, what would you see yourself doing and where would that be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, I've got like a few different, like, there's a few different paths that would be ideal for me. I think one would be, obviously, professional football would be amazing. I think, like, once I finish my master's, it's definitely something that I'll look into, and sort of speak to people that I know and see if I can figure something out. But it's not something I think like, obviously, I'd love to play professionally, but I think it's something that, like, if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to keep forcing it. I think, like, if it doesn't happen in like due time and it doesn't happen sort of like, obviously it'll require hard work to sort of get an opportunity somewhere, but if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to sort of beat a dead horse and keep going at it. I think I'll be realistic with myself and not, okay, like time's up, like I'll go do something else. So I think that's like the first path. And to go along with that, I'd love to have my own business. I've got a few ideas. Not quite sure just yet what exactly the scope of the ideas. So kind of keeping it on like under wraps right now. But I think, yeah, if I was able to play football and have a business on the side, I think that would be perfect. But then on the other hand, I love New York. Like I'd love to stay here. So whether I don't know whether I go work for a company in New York for a good couple of years, build up my experience, sort of build up my industry know-how in whatever industry it ends up being, and then sort of build a business off the back of that. I think that's obviously a thing that I'd like to do. So I think I've got a couple, like I've got a few things that I'd like to sort of do. I think the biggest thing I just want to be sort of surrounded by people that are also like high achievers and that motivate me to be better every day. I think that's the biggest part, and I'd love to be at a stage where I can, like the big goal for me would be to be at a stage where I can help like my closest friends out, like make sure their lives are good, whether it's in giving them a job or having them travel around the world with me if I've got a business, and then obviously my family, like I'd love to make sure that they're sort of comfortable and not worrying about anything. So I think, yeah, I've got lofty goals for sure, but I think I'm sort of focused on, I've got all my, like as I said before, I've got all my little tasks that I need to complete to sort of get to these goals, and I'm just trying to slowly but surely tick away at them and make sure that I'm just sort of keeping everything going. And when I have to decide, when I finish my masters and I have to decide what route I'll take, I think I want to be a place where both things are sort of at a level where either way I go, I've got a good starting like foundation almost, so I can really attack it and go at it as much as I want and not just be like, okay, I've finished my masters now I'm starting from zero. So yeah, I think in the long run I've obviously got a few things I'd like to do, but yeah, I don't know. That was a bit of a weird answer, but hopefully that makes sense.
No, of course. I mean, these are lofty goals, but that's how it should be, right? If
Yeah.
they're not lofty and if they don't scare you, then well, how else are you gonna work hard, right? And
Yeah.
and obviously, like New York is amazing. I live like a few hours away from New York, but
Mm.
then that being said, like I keep going there often, and I love it. Just the energy there. It's very similar to where I grew up in Mumbai.
Yeah.
The hustle culture, the people there, the
Yeah.
opportunities. It's just so amazing. Just like the whole city and the people there, it's so easy to have that imposter syndrome and being like, everybody there is amazing,
Yeah.
do I really
Yeah.
deserve to be there? But I feel like it's and like, the lofty goals that you have obviously are achievable. And, I would say that it's good to be realistic, but then it's also good to, have that vision of being like, yes, I'm doing this for what needs to be done, but then also, am I really going after my dreams, which seem impossible, but then in this real world, it's like nothing really is impossible if you put in the work. And given how your stats are at this point, and given the efforts you've put in and the sacrifices you've made, which are pretty big, I
Mm.
really see you doing big things.
Mm. Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I could say the same to you. Like it's not easy starting a podcast, so it's impressive that you've got this going, and I think yeah, it's one of those things. It's good to sort of know people and have connections that are sort of trying to do big things and sort of working hard at things. So yeah, it was definitely good to have a chat.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's so important to have the right people around you who are just as motivated and
Yeah,
like want to accomplish big lofty goals aside from just having a stable life, which a lot of people have that lofty goal and want that, but then again it's like it's not something which most of us want, right? We want bigger things that fuel us because we have that potential for it, so
yeah,
it's always great to be able to surround yourself with.
yeah, 100%. And I think like I think nowadays because of like social media and stuff, you do see a lot of people think, oh, like 9 to 5, like yeah, nobody wants to work. But like I think at the end of the day, like not everyone's sort of you can't have everyone being entrepreneurs and building business. And I think I honestly respect the people like I've got a lot of friends at home that are happy working like doing joinery, like working on building sites, and they're very happy doing that and they're content and they don't want anything more. Like they're very happy with what they've got, and I think I almost respect those people the most because there's so much of this like, pressure you see on TikTok of people thinking, oh yeah, I have to do these massive things, and for people to just be like, right. I mean, I'm not earning loads of money, but I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with who I've got around me, and that's me. Then like good on them. Do you know what I mean? It's like fair play. I'm like at the end of the day, you just want to be happy and content with what you've got, and I think that's the biggest part. And for me, and perhaps for you, like I'm not gonna be like I'm content right now, but I'm not gonna be fully content until I see like until I've got to the stage where I want to be. And I think that's just who you are, and you can't really switch that off, can you? I can't really go, oh, actually, nah, I'm happy with where I am. I'm just gonna chill. That's just not the way I am. So I think, yeah, everyone's different, and like that's the thing. You've just got to sort of do what you feels best for you, and just see what happens at the end of the day, don't you?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I cannot chill. Like, yeah, it's going great, but then
Yeah,
what more can I do?
exactly. And I think yeah, you've just got to patiently. Your time will come. The same with everything. Like I think. Yeah, you need to just it's like those little tasks, like as long as you keep like, adding up day by day, I think it'll sort itself out eventually.
Love that. That's a great advice.
Mhm.
One last question. Is there anything that you wish I asked you, or anything that you wish, an advice that you gave your younger self?
Give my younger self. I don't know. I mean, I
I
think
feel like I'm
nowadays
asking you
I'm
so many
always like, oh, I could
complicated.
have. I think nowadays it's always easy to say like, I could have, I could have worked harder. I could have done this. I could have done that. But honestly, for me, like, I don't know if I don't think everyone can say this. Like, I'm obviously grateful to have this, but I think I don't really have any major regrets of what I've done so far. And maybe in time to come, I will be like, oh, that was a stupid decision. Like, why did I do that? But I think overall, I think yeah, to my younger self, I would just say maybe spend a little bit less time playing like PlayStation with my friends because I spent a lot of time doing that. But then at the time, it's fun and like I don't really regret it. Like it was just like one of those things that everyone was doing, and yeah, I don't know. Honestly, no, I don't have any big regrets, and I just no. Honestly, I'm pretty content with what I did when I was younger. Like there's obviously things I could have done better, and I think everyone's got that. But you can't have like this. You can't have this ultra optimized life. I think you've got to allow yourself time to relax and chill and let your hair down. So yeah, no. And then on your question about have you if I wish you asked me something else, I think no, honestly, I think we've had a nice it's been a lot it's a nice deep chat, and I think um I I like listen to podcasts that have sort of a similar sort of theme when they really like think about different like themes, like human themes, and it really like makes you think. And I think a lot of your questions really made me like dig deep and made me think, oh, what is the question? Like, what is the answer to that? So no, I think you asked some great questions.
I really appreciate that. That makes me really happy. That actually made my day.
No, it's good. I think you covered all bases. You've asked questions that made me think, and it's not just like questions that have been like yeah or no to. You've really made me think, and a lot of the time I'm looking up like what is the answer to that? So yeah, some great questions.